Hey YouTube, how are all of you lovely people? My name is Jessica. I'm a California girl who just so happens to sing opera. So in this video, I'm going to give all of you tips and tricks on how to maintain vocal health throughout your vocal journey. I, for one, wish that I knew all of these tips when I first started singing, and now that I am well aware of how beneficial all of these tips have been for me personally, I just want to share that with you all today. Make sure to watch the video to the end because I promise you all of these tips are super beneficial for your overall vocal health. So the first tip I'm going to give you may be kind of obvious, but there's a reason why it's always reiterated, because it's just that important. The first tip is hydration. I'm going to give a little bit of background on how your body responds to hydration so you can fully understand and comprehend what is going on when you choose to intake fluids or foods that are high in water concentration. On average, the human body has around 41 to 45 liters of water. That is what makes up our 60% body mass. For babies, it's much higher. Theirs is 75%. Now, within that 45 liters, our body chooses to operate on 1 liters of that 45 liters. And when that 1 liter has dropped or it gets really low, our body then has a complex system that lets our brain know, okay, I'm thirsty. That is what regulates our thirst levels. So once your brain has told your body that it's thirsty, you drink or you consume foods that are highly concentrated in water, and that 1 liter is then back up to its high level, and then you are satisfied. The amount of water that you personally need is just that, personal and individual. I know there are so many articles out there that say you need to be having 8 glasses of water a day, 64 ounces, blah, blah, blah. Take that with a grain of salt. You need to consider several very important factors that should guide you into asking yourself, how much water should I really be consuming? These factors include climatic conditions. What kind of clothes are you wearing, surprisingly? Do you exercise regularly and have very high intensity exercises? Do you have a medical condition that requires you to consume much more water than the average person? All of these things you have to take into consideration and make your own choice on how much water you should be consuming. I know that consuming water for a lot of people can be quite challenging. For me, I know when I'm thirsty and I just drink. But I know very many people out there who don't listen to their bodies necessarily and don't consume water almost at all. And this is something you have to consciously be aware about, and it just requires a very simple step. Whether that's if you work at a desk, make sure you always have water by your desk. Keep it in plain sight, and I guarantee you, you'll be more inclined to actually drink it. So now that we understand how our body's thirst levels work, and also how there are very important factors that contribute to how much water we should be taking in, we can now talk about how all of this benefits the overall health of our vocal folds. If you did not know, your vocal folds are housed within your larynx. It is this muscle right here that you can feel when you go to swallow. You can feel it move up and down. When you consume any foods or liquids or even saliva, those particles go through your esophagus. Your vocal folds and the epiglottis keep airways closed off so that foods and drinks or even your saliva don't enter that part of the larynx. This well-coordinated muscle interaction only shows that your vocal folds are not being hydrated because of direct liquid-to-fold contact. Therefore, your body needs to be fully hydrated in order for your folds to reap the benefit of full hydration. When your folds are fully hydrated, because your body is fully hydrated, they need less force in order to come together and vibrate. Remember, your folds are constantly changing shape throughout the day as you talk or as you may sing. They need to stretch in order to create higher pitches, and they relax in order to create lower tones or your speaking voice. In order for this complex mechanism to work successfully, your folds have to be fully hydrated. Another reason why it's so important for your folds to be hydrated, aka your entire body needs to be hydrated, is because when this happens, your body then creates a thin layer of mucosa around your folds, which is optimal for phonation. If you ever struggle with thickness of mucosa within your vocal folds, just consider the fact that you may be dehydrated. But get this, it can take up to 4 hours in order for your folds to reap the benefits of the water that you just drank. Think about that. How many times, I know I've done this, How many times have you went to go take several sips of water just before a performance thinking that it's going to help you in that moment? It isn't. So this is why it's so important to not only stay fully hydrated, but to consistently drink water throughout the entire day. The second tip I want to talk about for vocal health is throat clearing and coughing. We all do it. It's a natural bodily reaction to when something isn't right. Now, I came across some really interesting information when I was doing research for this particular video. Did you know that speaking and singing are secondary to the primary function of your vocal folds? If you remember, earlier in the video, I had talked about that when you go to swallow food or liquids, your vocal folds and your epiglottis close so that food does not enter the trachea. This is the primary function of your vocal folds. That being said, it's important to acknowledge just how important coughing and clearing your throat really is, but I want to emphasize only when necessary. Majority of us run into issues when we excessively cough or excessively clear our throats. And what many might not know is many of us may do it because of habit. I am guilty of this. I, by habit, will clear my throat, but I know that it's a habit because it just feels good. It's not resolving any underlying issues that my body is going through. So, in order to combat that, I have to be consciously aware of it and just stop it before it starts. And over the years, I've gotten really good at that. In order for you to fully understand just how harmful excessive coughing or clearing your throat can be, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. When you're singing on a well-supported breath, your folds move at various speeds. This action should be soft and gentle, and your folds shouldn't be irritated when doing this properly. However, think of coughing or clearing your throat as running barefoot or clapping your hands. These two examples requires an increased force of action, and as a result, your hands or the bottoms of your feet are red and usually irritated. This same thing applies to vocal folds. When you cough or when you clear your throat, your folds meet at an increased force of action, which only then irritates them. So, how do we combat excessive coughing and clearing our throats? The first thing is to acknowledge when it's happening and why it's happening. Is it happening very often, and is it because I'm doing it by habit? Or is it actually happening because my body is telling me that it needs help combating this situation? If I find myself needing to excessively cough or clear my throat while I'm singing, an exercise that really helps me is humming. What I'll do is I'll take in a really nice deep breath and think about the large space of my oral cavity. For example, now, I'm not pressing excessively, I am just taking a breath and letting that breath control the resonance and the amount of voice that I want to produce. It's very light and very easy, and I will do this until my cough has gone away. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to coughing and clearing your throat is when you feel these sensations while you're actually singing. Sometimes this happens to me when I'm singing really high. And what I have found out is this is happening because I'm engaging my swallowing muscles when singing above the staff. And what happens is when these muscles are engaged, your mind tells your body that it needs to cough or clear the throat in order to relieve that itchy feeling. In order for me to combat coughing while singing, I need to do several things. The first is to stop it in its tracks before it happens, or to immediately stop singing right after it happens. Then I need to take a step back and mentally analyze what do I need to do in order to successfully prepare for this high note. The first step of this process is acknowledging the fact that my swallowing muscles are not benefiting me whatsoever in this situation. In fact, they're only getting into the way. And this brings back the fundamentals of singing, that singing is possible because of breath. For me, when I'm singing really high, I almost have to think of those high notes as little laser beams that are just pinging out of the back of my head. But the only reason they're able to do that is because they're well supported. The breath is what gets those notes out of my body. It isn't me trying to control those notes to come out of my body through some sort of muscular force. The third tip I want to talk about for vocal health is warm-ups and cool-downs. Now, I have always been the singer who always needs to warm up before they sing. It has become a staple part of my routine and one that I actually enjoy. So here's a look into how I warm up. The first 15 minutes, I spend stretching my entire body. I will stretch my legs, I will stretch my arms, I will take my hands and put them in the back of my shoulders and move that skin forward in order to relieve any neck tension. And while I'm doing this, I'll take deep breaths and I'll feel the space where my lower rib cage lives and also the back. And while I'm doing this, I will also hum just to get my voice ready for doing any type of vocal exercises. The next step is warming up my middle and lower registers before warming up my higher registers. I have always loved chest voice and have come to develop it quite nicely over the last few years. That being said, what I choose to focus on now is transitioning evenly from chest voice into head, or what you may call mixed voice. Thumbs up if you're liking this video so far. The last part of warming up for me is warming up my higher register. Types of exercises that I will do include legato lines, staccati, or scales/coloratura. And I will do this until I have done a certain amount of vocal exercises successfully. Here are some exercises for cooling down. The first one is to stop talking. Now, this may be really hard after a long performance when your friends and family have come to see you. All they want to do is congratulate you and talk to you after your performance. However, if you communicate to them beforehand that after the performance you are going to go on vocal rest because you want to be consciously aware of how much you've just used your vocal folds, I promise you they will understand. Other cooling down exercises that you can do include lip trills, gentle slides, or even vocal fries. Vocal fries focus on inner chord coordination, which allows your vocal cords to return to their normal state. The fourth tip that I want to give you on vocal health is don't smoke. This is one of those common sense things that all singers should know. You can choose to ignore it or you can choose to abide by it. At the end of the day, you're your own human being who can make choices for yourself. All that I ask is that you be fully aware of the negative effects that tobacco has, not just on your vocal folds, but your entire body. The fifth and final tip that I want to give you for vocal health is repetition. If you have the time, try practicing 20 minutes a day, 2 to 3 times per day. This is for advanced singers. Marchese recommends for beginning singers to practice 5 to 10 minutes a day, 3 to 4 times a day. The reason why I want to emphasize repetition is because your ability to focus on one particular subject may be a lot shorter than you realize. Therefore, we must employ the idea of working smarter, not necessarily harder. Now, during this time that you have allotted just for practice, put away all distractions. Put your phone on silence, put away your computer, hide any snacks that may be catching your eye. Let it just be you and your music. After you've completed your first session, take a couple of minutes to really mentally process what just happened. Engage yourself and ask yourself, what did I just do vocally? What did I just learn about myself as a singer in those 20 minutes? Then go about your day and find 2 or 3 other times where you can repeat this process. And each time, ask yourself, what information did I retain from the processes before, or what information did I learn throughout this process? Repetition is very important for vocal development and stamina. Once you make this a habit, your body will build enough energy to get you through each session. And this is particularly important when going to sing entire roles. So those are my 5 tips for vocal health. If you found this video informative, please show love in the comment section, like this video, and also consider subscribing to my channel. As always, I upload every Tuesday and Friday, so I'll see you all in a few days.